Is it interesting to see like how much your like autograph and stuff is worth? Like, oh damn.
Yeah, it's been going up, which is very interesting. In the beginning, believe it or not, I actually had some people that tried to swindle me and try to steal my autograph. So I've had people, it's crazy, but people do. They'll try to swindle you. There have been people that were like, hey, I really want to do a collab. Can you send me your autograph electronically? And then I'm like, I know what you're doing. So no.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's very interesting. But autographs are, especially when you get to like some of the really, really big actors, like it's wild.
What's up, anime fans? It's your boy, Raysean from the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast, or RGAP for short. And on today's episode, we're interviewing special guest Drew Breedlove, a professional voice actor who was known for Blue Lock, Windbreaker, and Black Clover. Join us as we dive into the world of voice acting, exploring Drew's personal journey and achievements, uncovering his anime origin story, and also discussing our favorite childhood cartoons. We'll also be sharing tips for anyone out there trying to get into voice acting. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen.
I don't owe you anything. You should thank me for everything I've done. It's been half a year. Have you fared well since I taught you? D-rank quests are perfect. They make far more economic sense for someone like me. Even though I'm the team's newest member, our first live stream is gonna be my solo boss fight. Are you guys sure? I feel kinda bad. Wouldn't it be better if our first stream was a battle that all of us were involved?
Weapons and formulas don't work, and using them to the max doesn't cut it. Then the only way we'll score against these guys is if we can surpass our own individual limit. You see? I got a super special goal of my own. Your turn. If this isn't fun, then what is?
It was the 8th day of the 4th month of 1525. No. Don't try to dodge the question with another question. I will have your answer. Darius Grenville. Well, the flow of that particular timeline will pull me towards the future I observed. The one where I cut down my enemy. And then it will be up to me to make that future a reality.
Before we get started, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and also tell us your top 2 favorite cartoons and why.
What's up, guys? My name is Drew Breedlove. I am an actor. I've been acting for 15 years. I've done theater, I've done film, but I'm mostly known for my work in voiceover, specifically anime, Blue Lock and Windbreaker being my 2 biggest ones. And then my favorite cartoons, man, that's a really tough one. I really like Tarzan, like the Disney Tarzan, one of my favorites.
Okay.
I can watch that over and over again. And then, of course, the OG SpongeBob, the newer stuff's okay, but the OG stuff is like where it's at. The humor is unmatched.
Yes. OG SpongeBob at least sounds like it had a story. Now I just feel like you watch SpongeBob and you're like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
You lose the brain cells. Yeah. You're like, wait a second. Yeah.
Were you a huge Disney fan as a kid?
Yeah, so I grew up on like Hercules, Tarzan, Atlantis was another big one. This one's not Disney, but I watched like Iron Giant, so I was like that generation, and I love stuff like that. Yeah.
What about like That's So Raven?
That's So Raven's great too. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Hannah Montana, all that jazz. That whole, everything.
Okay, so we're about in that same generation of shows to watch, because I was just talking to somebody recently and I was saying a lot of people don't actually talk about how much they actually probably watched Disney Channel as a kid, because I know it seems more, girly than the other TV shows because they promote more of like Cheetah Girls and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure everybody watched the movie at least once or twice. It's one of the biggest movies at that time. And even like High School Musical and stuff.
Yeah, High School Musical. Yeah, everyone wouldn't stop singing it. It just gets stuck in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking up facts about that yesterday, and I didn't even know Zac Efron didn't sing for the first movie. And I thought that was interesting.
I didn't know that.
It was some other person who really was saying it was Keke Palmer, and I forgot the name of the guy, because he was like, "Oh, the difference in voice is huge because it was like the voice. I think it was Drew Seeley. She was like, he has more of a soul voice and soulful voice, and Zac Efron's voice isn't as soulful. And I was like, okay, that's interesting.
By the way, I apologize. My cat was pawing at the door, so I was like, all right, I gotta let him into the room.
Okay, this everyday life. Things happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For my favorite cartoons, I kind of talked about it recently. One of my favorite cartoons was Hey Arnold. I always enjoyed the cartoon. It was always, he's such a positive character, and the fact that he's always trying to help out his community. I love the New York theme and the jazz feel that it gives you. Amazing cartoon.
Yeah, I used to watch like Rugrats. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name, but the one where they're all skating, like they're all skateboarders. I can't remember.
Rocket Power.
Yes, Rocket Power. Yes, Rocket Power was the best. Yeah, Cat Dog, all that stuff.
Phantom.
Yes, all the good stuff for sure.
Oh, I wonder if you will love this. I got to recently interview the voice actor for Jimmy Neutron. To me, that was humongous. I was like, oh man, that's huge.
That's so cool. You know, Jimmy Neutron, like, I went back and I watched it. The humor holds up so well. There's so much humor that I just didn't catch as a kid, but it's
man.
So Sheen specifically is just hilarious. Yeah.
I will also say that when I rewatched some of Hey Arnold, I didn't realize a lot of the real life situations they have in the show, like even with some of the parents and how they were acting and stuff like that. I'm like, you can tell she was drunk all the time. And I'm like, wow, they are really showing this in here. But I feel like a lot of that you miss as a kid, but when you go back and rewatch and be like, okay, this is a very interesting.
Yeah, it's stuff that you can really enjoy as an adult. I remember my mom told me, she was like, when she would take us to the movies or watch a show or whatever, like she would also enjoy it because they would have stuff for like adults in there that kids wouldn't pick up on. And so even like when I go back and watch stuff, I mean, part of it's nostalgia, but honestly, the writing's just so good about stuff in that time period. You're just like, wow, this is great. You know,
man, it makes you feel like they really cared about what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And they really they really try to think about what they were going to do season based. A lot of shows, it seemed like it's very episodic, and it's not saying that's bad, but I kind of like when you can see what's going and things that happen in certain episodes carry on to the next episode. It's not like everything just refresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for my next favorite cartoon, I have to say, I feel like this show revolutionized cartoons on this network for sure. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes. Oh, of course.
Was awesome. To be honest with you, I like to say it was kind of my first entry, a little tab into anime. It's not fully anime, but it's pretty much anime.
It's an entry point. It's an entry point.
I loved how the show is. I thought Aang was amazing. I like all the abilities and everything. I like the fact that you got The Legend of Korra. I think they also got a new version of the show coming back. I don't know which route they're going because I've seen two different things, and I don't know if one's a movie, but I think they were going to highlight a little bit more on Aang's when he was older and as an adult, which I think would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
You know what I mean?
Super cool, yeah.
But then they're also supposed to be doing another Avatar. I think it was supposed to be like twins or something. So I thought that was going to be pretty awesome to see that too.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is, but I heard it was Earthbenders. I could be wrong though. But I think I read somewhere that they might be considering having them being Earthbenders, and I think that would be interesting. But I think it was just probably speculation because I know a lot of people haven't heard stuff on it yet. So
I think Earthbenders would be cool because we've seen water, we've kind of seen everything else, but I would like to see an Earthbender, like them starting off as an Earthbender and kind of having more of that like mindset and probably more hand-to-hand combat. You know what I mean? That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, kind of switching gears a little bit, kind of just talking about what we've recently been watching and listening to or playing recently. I'm going to go ahead and let you have the floor for a little bit because I've recently got into Invincible, and I don't want to just go ahead for a little tangent, so I'll let you go real quick.
Yeah, no, well, my brother watches Invincible, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I've heard it's really good. Yeah, everyone says it's super good. And didn't they got renewed for a new season, right? Is that right? Yeah. So I mean, it looks really good. The animation, and of course, I see all the memes. So, but yeah, it looks great. But We're just shooting about like what we like, modern stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever you like. I know you like play games a lot.
I do play games, yes. So, well, when I have time. Lately, I have not had a lot of time. So I just kind of stick to my one-shot games. Like, my brother freaking got me back into Fortnite and then Rainbow Six Siege and stuff like that. But I've been playing the Oblivion remaster recently. And then the new Elden Ring, I think, just came out today or tomorrow or comes out soon. So I'll probably pick that up because I love Dark Souls. I'm a huge Dark Souls guy. So I played all of them, but Demon Souls was the only one I haven't played. So
I've tried to play Dark Souls. I forgot which game it was. It was at my friend's house, but it's one of those games. I've never been a big gamer. Like, I'm usually a more fighting hand-to-hand combat game.
Yeah.
Reason why I say that, because for some reason when I play games, it seems like I don't pay attention enough. And I don't get all the information I need because it's like I'll be okay in those kind of world-based games until I need to find something. And then I had the conversation earlier on, then I forgot where I need to go. So now it's like, now I got to restart the game just to get to where I need to go.
Yeah, Dark Souls does not hold your hand at all. And it's funny because my dad played one of them, and it took him like 3 hours to beat the tutorial boss. And I remember when he beat it, he felt so accomplished. And we were like, Dad, it's just the tutorial boss. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm not touching the rest of the game.
I'm like, that was enough of accomplish for me. You know what I meant?
Yeah.
And I will definitely make sure that was saved because I'll be like, if I have to do this again, I'm never turning this on.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Yes.
Have you been watching anything or any new movies recently? I know Final Destination just recently come out. Have you?
Oh yes, yeah, I heard that. So I have been so behind on a lot of the modern media. I tell people all the time, the stuff I only really have time for right now is like I watch the animes that I'm in because I work on them, which is really boring. And I know, but I've been I do read. I read quite a bit. Right now, I'm making my way through Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. I've never read. So if you're a fantasy fan, it's a great series. Brandon Sanderson's awesome. I recently just read the first Harry Potter for the first time ever. And
was it good?
Yeah, I watched the movies and
Me too. I just redid it recently, so I kind of want to hear this.
Oh, really? Okay, so I watched the movies and reading the books, or at least the first book. I'll probably go back and read the rest because I really enjoyed the first one, but. Reading the books made me really appreciate how great the movie adapted them. Because I wish that they would have done more Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. That's the only thing I like about the books a lot more is the fact that they kind of did that a little bit more. But yeah, no, for an animated book, from a book to movie adaptation, it's great. It's really good.
You think so? Okay. I know a lot of people say they have mixed opinions on that. And they say if you read the books, it's hard to kind of really love the movies because there's so many things that's missing out from the books to the movies.
I see that. Well, there are things that, the books have that the movies obviously did change. Some of it better, some of it worse. But then again, I also grew up on the movies and I didn't grow up on the books. So my friends that started with the books say that the movies are okay, right? So, like, in my opinion, it just depends on what you start with. You know what I mean?
I agree with you because the same thing with people who like the Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. I know a lot of people who read the book hate the movies.
Yes, I've heard that a lot too, yes.
But I watched the movie first, and I've never read the book. And the movie, to me, is good. Like, I always thought the Percy Jackson movie was good. The second one is okay. I can understand. I've never read the book, but I can still say the second one is okay.
Right.
But if I did read the book, maybe I could see the differences, and maybe because I know even with the TV show, they have their opinions on that too. But I think it just really depends on what you start with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like one thing I wish from book to media adaptations, I wish that, and sometimes some authors are like, okay, studio, give me money, and then you do whatever you want with it. And I get that, because writing a book's really hard. I write as well, so writing is really difficult, right? And so I get that, but also you look at like the One Piece live action adaptation. And it's like, the reason it's so well received is because the original creator was heavily a part of making it and casting it and was a part of the, it's really cool that he had his finger in a lot of areas of the production. And that's why it's so good, because the original creator was a part of it, And I feel like if more original creators did that when it, makes its way to the screen, I feel like it would be better. But on, the creator's defense, production, because I do on camera as well, production is not easy. There's a lot that goes into it. It's very chaotic. The scripts change all the time. I had an uncle that he was in the industry for 45 years. His generation, he worked on like the Goonies and National Treasure and all stuff like that. And he would just talk about how like some of the movies would go through like 7 to 15 different scripts, and they would all be highlighted, and the changes would be here, and they would be color coded and be crazy. The actors would have to cram memorize like the day before. It was nuts. So it's a lot. So, double-edged sword.
It's interesting that you say that, because I know for the Harry Potter movies, and then you got the Fantastic Beasts movies, and it's in the role that J.K. Rowling had from when I think the Harry Potter movie, she had more of a backseat approach to like the writing, and for the Fantastic Beasts, she did more of the writing for those movies. And I feel like for the Fantastic Beasts, they're not as well received as the Harry Potter movie, and I wonder if that's because the way she writes is more for a book than for a movie, and I think that's what a lot of the situation base came from. So do you think it's hard to make that transition to writing for a book to a movie?
Yeah, there's definitely a different way you approach to writing a script versus a book, right? Very different medias. So like, I guess like if I were an author and I were turning one of my books into a movie, I would oversee the script, but I don't think I would actually like write it myself. I would just be like, hey, can we do this with the characters? Can we do that? You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it's like writing it, because like I said, writing a script is a whole different art form in and of itself. Right. And so it's just like writing a play on theater is different from writing a movie script. It's like, there's similarities obviously, but they're very different. But yeah, no, it's the world of storytelling is like, there's a lot of everything just is individually different. So it depends on the individual production, the individual story, the individual period, So, but no, it's cool. It's fun. I enjoy what I do.
I think if I remember looking at the comments, I think one of the main problems a lot of people had with it was like deposition, the amount of deposition certain situations would have. And it was more as if she was writing for a book than normally would be in a movie. I guess certain people would say a whole lot in certain scenes, and you'd be like, this seems like this should be just spread out through the movie, you know what I mean?
Well, what's funny is I actually catch that in anime too. Sometimes specifically with the light novel to anime adaptations, you'll get characters, specifically protagonists, that like paragraph after paragraph, and you're like, wait a second, it feels like this character's just talking a book to me. So maybe that is what it is, but who knows? Who knows what goes through some of these production people's minds.
It's funny that you brought up the Harry Potter book, because just like I said recently, I just rewatched all the movies, and I say they pretty much hold up, and made me relove some of the cast members more, like the Weasley family and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of watching a lot of YouTubers about Harry Potter and all, listening about the little lore and stuff, because I want to read the books, but I will say that the books themselves are very intimidating. They make you feel like, I don't know if I feel like I'm going to read 3 Bibles in one day. Like it's very interesting, but I do want to make that something I knock off my bucket list just to see what the difference is. Things that I've been watching, I said earlier, I've just got through all 3 seasons of Invincible. I had watched the first season. It was great. I had took a break because I watched the comic. I read the comic, so I thought I was pretty good. But
cool.
After rewatching it, I'll say the animation is amazing. I love the fight scenes. I love how gory it gets. If real life, it kind of shows you exactly what happens if like a Superman just got angry and started attacking everything. Because man, it's really nothing we could really do. And the fact that people have this fantasy ideas that we could fight them off, and it's like, no, we can't. It's really nothing we can do. I've also gotten to rewatch a lot of the Final Destinations, preparing myself to go see the one in the movie, which I probably will in the next few days. also watched Evil Dead. I don't know if you are a horror fan at all or anything, but that is really good. You got to check it out.
I know. I need to get better at my horror stuff. Let's see. The last thing I watched horror-wise was last year I went to a con, and I binged the whole Ring series for the first time. The Ring, and I liked them. The first one was good. Second one was okay, and then whatever the most recent one was just terrible. But it is what it is. That's how it goes. With a lot of horror movies. And I still haven't seen what is it? I'm so behind. I haven't seen Get Out. I haven't seen the one the Deaf. What is it with the monster that's blind with the guy from The Office? Which one's that one?
That Smile?
Which one?
Is that Smile?
No. So I've heard Smile's really good too.
That is amazing. Like,
yes, I hear really good things about it. That wasn't that one though. It was about the blind creature and they had to be quiet the whole time. Quiet Place? No. Quiet Place? Is that what it was?
I think that is it. Quiet Place?
Yeah. I haven't seen those, but I heard those. Like I said, man, I'm so behind.
You definitely got to check them out. Do you remember like the first horror movie that actually got you? That you were like, oh, damn. Yeah, this was scary.
Well, okay. So, I was younger when I watched it. Looking back at it, it's not scary at all. But it was my first R-rated movie. And I remember I was like, I think 5th grade, and we all went to the theaters and we were like, oh my God, we're watching an R-rated movie. It was Zombieland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is hilarious. No, it's hilarious. But it was the first time it wasn't horror, right? It doesn't scare you. But that was my first R-rated horror movie, right? And then I remember my first.
What scene got you? Like, was it the zombies? Like
just the gore and stuff. I wasn't used to it. Again, I was 5th grade, right? But then, obviously, after that, I think the first real one I watched was like The Grudge or something. One of the older ones. But I really, when it comes to horror, I really like the ghosts.
Paranormal.
Yes. Like, have you ever seen? It's from the 80s. It's called The Changeling. It's an older one. It's got
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, The Changeling. It's dated in terms of like visually, but like, man, it's still like really spooky with how some of the stuff, and it's great cast. So The Changeling's really good. There was another one with Nicole Kidman. I think it's called The Others or something. It takes place in World War II, and like, yeah, it's a really good one. That one has a weird twist to it, but I love like haunted house type stuff.
Okay. Do you remember Monster House?
Monster House? Vaguely. Yeah. Oh, are you talking about the animated one?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember Monster House. That freaked everybody out.
I was gonna say that was probably one of the one animated movies that got me a little bit, because I was like, this is actually a little scary.
The old man. Well, when he first comes out, I remember being like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh man. But talking about that, I remember the first horror movie I watched that really got me, and it was so funny because I rewatched the movie like 5 times now, and I'm always like, how did this get me so much? But if you ever watched the movie Dead, I think it's called Dead Silence.
Okay.
And the whole thing, if you watch like Bloody Mary or the Candyman, you like these people come after you, and then they had this scene when they had her like as like a skeleton inside this sheet, and she was coming out. And for some reason, that scene had got me for like 3 weeks, because like I had kept dreaming of that scene and everything, and I don't know, it was hilarious to me. It's just so funny how much your imagination can go as a kid.
No, it can for sure. I will say, what was it when it first came out? Now it doesn't, but like when you're first playing it, Phasmophobia did a pretty good job of giving at least that little adrenaline rush, at least in the beginning when you first play it, right? Obviously, once you start to memorize the ghosts and stuff, it loses its scariness. But the first couple times you see those lights flicker, you're like, oh God.
Oh man. Well, to this day, I still don't do the 3 Candymans or Bloody Mary. I'm like, I can play with that you want to. I'm not.
Yeah, I see Ouija boards at like Target. I'm like, I'm not touching that.
I don't need to play with it, man. Because as soon as it comes in, they never tell you how to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's dead by that time.
Yeah. Nope.
All right, kind of going ahead, switching right into our interview. For my first question, I want to ask you is, what inspired you to get into acting? I know doing a little bit of research, it was kind of like you started out in a church play, and that kind of got you into voice acting. But what really got you into acting?
So I was in the 5th grade when I watched my first anime. I consider it anime. It was called Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. It's a Studio Ghibli film. And I really fell in love with the art style. And so I was like, well, I'm getting into middle school. So I want to be a Japanese artist or a Japanese animator, right? And so I took art for 3 years. And then once I got to high school, my mom was like, well, why don't you try to do acting? And so I took theater all throughout high school, and I ended up falling in love with it. And like I said earlier, I had an uncle that was actually in the entertainment industry for a long time. And so he was like, because once I graduated, I was actually going to do the whole go to New York, try for Broadway, all that stuff. And he told me, he was like, no. He's like, even the people that are touring on Wicked, he's like, they're right back to waiting on tables right after the tour's done. So he's like, you should try for film. And I was like, okay. So I got an agent right out of high school. I started doing commercials. I even did a Lifetime movie, like Hallmark movie.
Oh, really? Okay. Was it a Christmas?
No, it was a summer one, but it was still cheesy. There was a kiss at the end with fireworks and cookies and everything. Yeah,
that's dope.
Hallmark. But it was very good. It was fun to be on, and I still do on-camera work. And then like you said, I was a part of a church play. That one, I hadn't planned it. My brother was in it. And 2 days before opening, one of the cast members got sick, and they asked me to sub in. And it turns out the director of that church play was actually friends with the upcoming director at Funimation at the time. And he came and saw the play. He asked some of us to audition, and then I've been doing it ever since. So but acting is just, it's a lot of fun, especially like voice acting is a lot of fun because you get to play with your voice and be really goofy and stuff. And then being on set, there's just some people don't like it because it's very chaotic. And sometimes you'll have like 3-4 a.m. call times or overnight shoots, and it can be a lot. But I love the chaos of a set, and even doing commercials, like it just, there's something about physically being in the world you're, telling that's a lot of fun. And then of course theater has its own things, with a live audience. And then if you mess up, you just got to keep going. So it keeps you on your toes. And then obviously the set changes and the costume changes. Those are all fun. And musicals are great too, So each different, like, theater versus film versus voiceover, they all have their, different quirks that, I love about them. So.
Oh, something that you brought up. Does your brother still act or?
So my brother, no. So it was Fiddler on the Roof. And he actually plays violin. He's more of a musician. So he actually just graduated from Oklahoma State, and he wants to compose for film and video games. So
that's amazing. So it's like everyone in your family like creative in that way, like.
Well, it's funny because I was the first one, and then my 2 other brothers have kind of taken over that, and then my other brother, he actually works for a company called Beckett, and I don't know if you've heard of them, but they grade like baseball cards, Pokemon cards, anime cards. And it's funny because they also grade autographs. And so my brother will send me a picture and be like, hey, look at this dork's autograph that I just got in, and it'll be mine, right? Because people bringing it to get it graded. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, we each have our own little artistic thing that we found, and it's awesome.
So does he basically tell you how much it's worth?
Well, so he can, when he grades it depends on the individual card. I don't want to, because Beckett has their own system, right? But basically, like, depending on, I guess, obviously the higher the card scores, the more it's worth, right? And then you add an autograph on there, it's, higher. And then Beckett also recently just started grading manga, which is really cool. So a lot of my fans will get me to sign the manga, and then they'll get it graded by Beckett, and then they put it in these really beautiful slabs and stuff. And it's cool. I've done a couple little collabs with Beckett, and I really like them out there. But they are tough. I have a lot of fans that will get me to sign cards, and they'll be like, Beckett, because like they're just super tough on grading. But I love them. I love them. They're great.
I gotta check that out. I never really had anything graded before. I've even seen that process. So
I warn you, it's very addicting. It's very addicting, and especially with me, I think it's one thing I think is fun. I try to get cards of my characters, and I'll sign them, and then they'll grade them for me, it's fun. But I can see how people can get really invested into it, right? And my brother, it's really interesting because he's gotten to a point because he is a grader. He'll look at a card and he'll be like, the centering's a little, because they grade like a card. I think it's based on like the image or something. It'll be like centering's a little off. There's a tear here. I give it a 9. I don't know how it works. I don't know their system, but I'm just like, okay.
Is it interesting to see like how much your like autograph and stuff is worth? Like, oh damn.
Yeah, it's been going up, which is very interesting. In the beginning, believe it or not, I actually had some people that tried to swindle me and try to steal my autograph. So I've had people, it's crazy, but people do. They'll try to swindle you. There have been people that were like, hey, I really want to do a collab. Can you send me your autograph electronically? And then I'm like, I know what you're doing. So no.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's very interesting. But autographs are, especially when you get to like some of the really, really big actors, like they are, it's wild. But it's fun. It's really cool. My brother, he's seen The Weeknd's signature, Elvis Presley. He's seen a lot of crazy ones.
So when did it start being a big thing for you? Was it like after Big Lock came out, Blue Lock?
Yeah, Blue Lock. Yeah, when that first came out. So Blue Lock had a very slow startup. Over time, it got a lot bigger and a very solid fan base over a 2-year period. And then the second season came out and it just grew. And the movie came out and it just grew, right? Mm-hmm. And so then they started putting out more merch. And then I started doing cons, and I noticed that I was busier and busier at cons. And then I was like, well, I wonder if my autograph's like worth something. And so like I started like, finding cards and stuff and signing them. And then Becca was like, yeah, it's pretty good, So obviously, as you grow, your autograph becomes worth more and more. And so I just find it's very, it's really interesting. It's cool. I mean, I like it. I think it's cool. My brother, it's funny.
I think that's really interesting too. Cause me personally, I feel like I would get like 3 of my rarest cards, sign them, put them in a safe and be like, that's y'all's safety deposit. Like when I die, that's what y'all get.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I've gotten to where I get everything signed. Like, I'm working on a show right now. The name is super long. It's like I left my A-rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths like that. Right.
You're doing amazing in that too. I want to give you your props. You're doing good. I love the show.
Oh, really? Oh, you've seen it? Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. I love Yuke. It's funny because when I first started the show, I didn't think much of it, but there's a weird flavor that it has that's like it makes it like really entertaining to watch, and I like some of the dark elements into it too.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was I'm actually I have a poster, and I'm trying to get the cast and the director and all of them to sign it just for me, right? Because I think it would be cool just to have some projects that I worked on, have them signed, because we all record individually, but especially when it comes to Blue Lock, the Blue Lock boys we're pretty tight knit, and then the A-rank people, there's a few of them in there that I love. Like Rebecca, who plays the little flying camera. She's a lead in another show called Teogania right now or whatever. And she and I have become pretty close. So, but yeah, do
y'all all play soccer? I think I interviewed someone else and they said you guys have like a little soccer team or something.
So yes, a lot of the VAs here in Dallas actually do. They have a soccer team and they've been asking me to join. I have not. Apparently, I think they meet weekly. I have not joined.
Not all.
I'm so bad. I've been so busy where like I'm just terrible at replying. I'm terrible at doing stuff. It's because it's just a lot, between shooting emails to cons and auditioning, and then also doing workshops, and then writing a novel, and then also doing it's a lot. But I need to get better at it because I would love to do that. And I've been trying to get back. I used to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I've been getting an inkling to get back in that. I had to stop because of COVID, but I really miss doing it. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just haven't had time.
And a good way to stay fit too.
People don't realize when you're self-employed, like you are how you make an income. So like if you don't try, well, you won't get paid. And you also have to be careful too, because if you try too hard, you can get really burnt out. So you have to like find that medium in there. So, but yeah.
But see, with cons, at least you kind of get to go somewhere else and kind of like a little mini vacation. I don't know how the whole con process is. That could be a whole work within itself. So from my experience, I've only been on the outside coming to meet people. So I don't know from your side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, cons are great. So my first year doing cons, which was I want to say 22, 23 was my first year really doing cons, and I booked it all myself, and so I negotiated the contracts and I did all that, and it's a lot. It's a lot. Especially like my first year, I did I think 17 cons. My second year, which was last year, I did like I think 21 cons, and this year I think I've done 7 or 8 already, like events, and it's a lot. Right. But, on top of everything else. Right. And so I do have a few agents now that are repping me to help me with, offload some of that onto them because it's, negotiating contracts, reaching out. It's a lot. But yeah, no, it's fun. My favorite part is going to newer areas and just meeting people that I otherwise would not have met. And that part's really, really cool because I've been to some cons where like, fans will walk by and they'll be like, "Hey, who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm XYZ." And they're like, "Wait, you're here?" And then they freak out. And then like, it's like they didn't even know I would be there. And because they were like, "You never come to this area." And I'm like, "I know, it's my first time," or whatever. And so they'll really love that. But then like the international cons, I really love it. I've been to the UK probably about 4 times in the past 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of fans over in Europe, UK area. I'm trying to make it out to Australia and New Zealand at some point. And then also, apparently, I've got a big fan base in the Philippines, trying to make it out there. Puerto Rico is another one. But like, I have a lot of international fans just because, soccer or football, depending on where you're from. I got to make sure to say football, depending on where you're from. It's very big. It's huge.
It's the most popular sport in the world.
Oh my gosh, it is. Yeah. And, and I think that's why Blue Lock is so, actually, I know that's why it's so popular is because it's so, it takes soccer and it just makes it so intense. It almost feels like a shonen battle anime, Man,
you got it right on the head.
Yeah. And what I love about it is it's sports, but it also makes like, it's dark. And I love dark stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that it has like those dark, almost borderline horror-esque like frames or drawings sometimes makes it just awesome. Right, because I grew up on like Prince of Tennis and the what you expect of a sports anime, right?
Yeah.
Power, friendship, lighthearted slice of life, right? But then Blue Lock comes along and just
they fuck all that.
Yes, that's exactly what they do, and I'm very excited to see where it goes because my manga readers have said that like literally the writing is just consistently good all the way through and at least from what they tell me, they don't think an end is near. So I hope they're right. I think that would be cool if Blue Lock was around for a while.
So you don't keep up with the manga yourself?
No. So the thing about the projects that I work on is I don't care about spoilers, but I know major plot points just because as working on it's good. For a character, but I also I keep the minute details to a surprise just because working on it keeps it fresh, right? Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, I get to do that next week, right? Versus like already knowing everything. And some people, I have talked to actors that they know everything about it, right? But for me, I personally like to also be surprised, Yeah,
so, I feel you on that because that was going to be my next question. Do you like to be in the booth? Do you like to be like surprised or kind of knowing what's going on?
Well, so usually by the time I reach the booth, I have watched, if it's available, I have watched the sub prior, just because in terms of like actual episodes, I like to know what I'm working on the next week. Just because here's the thing, by the time I actually get in the booth, I would have forgotten most of it, but I'll have enough of a foundation where I can kind of go off that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But my next question I want to ask you is, what do you find challenging about being a voice actor?
Staying out of your head. That's a really big thing just as an artist in general. I noticed that especially with my writing too. And I talk to musicians and, obviously artists who draw and paint and stuff, they'll know what I'm talking about too. But staying out of your head is just the biggest thing, right? Like, so I know when I first came out, when Blue Lock Bachira was like my first biggest role, right? And when it first came out, people did not like me at all. They like shredded me, right? And it was really hard because I was like, man, I thought I was doing a good job and I was really trying, blah, 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 blah. Now, obviously, I have amazing fans and they pretty much just fight to death and they're like, no, he's good. And so, things have changed, right? And so obviously I've gotten to a point now, it's like, well, if my work touches fans in a very positive way, and, a lot of fans come to me and they're crying, they're like, oh my God, you changed my life. And I'm like, blah, 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 then obviously my work did good. Right. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when you're in the booth, you're like, I don't know how that sounds. But then the fans or when other people are saying you did good, then you just kind of have to accept it. Right. Even if you're like, oh, I could say that different. Oh, I could do this different. At the end of the day, it's to some extent, it's what, some other people say about your work that really, and obviously there are people that are just negative to be negative. Right. And sometimes I do take criticism if it's like legitimate. Right. But 9.5 times out of 10, it's just people being dumb. You know what I mean?
For no reason. You know what I mean? So when do you feel like it changed, when people started really accepting you as the voice?
Well, so actually, probably like by episode 5 or 6 of the first season, people started to really, really warm up to the dub, because there was actually a pretty decent chunk of the dub out, right? I mean, with it being so new. And I think, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I know I was one of the newer names in the initial cast. And so a lot of people didn't know who I was, even though I had been working with Funimation since the tail end of 2016, mostly bit parts, right?
Okay, so this was your first big part?
Yeah, so Bachira was like my first major role. And so, but now it's like, it's pretty, I would say it's actually pretty 50-50 on people that like the dub and people that like the sub, and nowadays,
that's interesting.
And you also have to think about it. The ecosystem has changed so much, right? I mean, you look at Crunchyroll, that is this multi-million-dollar company that's doing dubs now, right? Whereas back in the day, from what I hear from older VAs, it used to be something like, you went to a guy's closet and you worked on something that, may or may not be,
it was a Craigslist ad. You're like, wow, I'm surprised I did that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then one of the VAs I was talking to, he got in because they were like, hey, you sound like a big beefy dude. You want to work on an anime? And he was like, sure. And then that's how he got in. So it was like, that was back in the day now, right? And obviously it's changed a lot. So I think dubs have also grown with that, right? The quality of a lot of dubs have changed, in a good way, right?
Yeah, and I think that was why, because I talked to a lot of older voice actors. I know a lot of them never realized how popular the shows they were in, because it took them a while to even know anime and stuff was popular. And I think a lot of that had to do with the pandemic we had, where that anime really got a resurgence because nobody else had anything else to watch, and anime was the only thing that a lot of people haven't really tried and actually was still trying to produce.
Yes, I can confirm that, because a couple years ago I did a con with Miley Flanagan, who's the voice of Naruto, and I remember talking to her, and she was like, Naruto's always been big, but she said after the pandemic it just blew up, and she said she had not. I mean, it just blew up for her, and I think because of the pandemic, because everyone was just inside their houses, and then anime specifically. You can blow through a single season in like a day. Support, So yeah, it's cool. I've noticed since I've been in the industry, it's definitely changed. And I grew up being an anime fan, and people would look at you weird if you read Shonen Jump, right? They were like, that's weird. But now it's like weird if you don't do it.
It's crazy how that didn't change. I said that like. When I was in high school, if you liked the Naruto or talked about it or played Pokemon, it was kind of seemed as lame. You know what I mean? Now it's like you want to know how to play this stuff. It's cool to be a geek, and I think that's cool that's been able to be a new thing for people, allow more people to be able to express who they are. Yeah,
it's wild, and I know the younger generations, they even get more into it. Like my brother. Plays the apparently it's on Roblox. It's called Blue Lock Rivals, and it's got like almost 2 billion visits. And he was telling me that like some of his friends haven't even watched the show, but they know all the characters, they know everything about him just because that game. And I can confirm that because like one of the voice of Shido, Van Bar Jr., he was telling me at a con that he had a kid come up to him and was like, my favorite character, and he was like, oh, blah blah blah, and it was because of Blue Lock Rivals was like a big part of why Shido was like this kid's favorite, And
wow, okay.
yeah, so it's crazy. And that being said, too, I hope Blue Lock gets a proper game at some point, because I think if you were to do like almost like a FIFA, like a shonen battle element to it, with maybe some like Rocket League elements into it too, I think that would be so good. That would be awesome.
I think that would be a really cool game elements, because it's like so many routes you can go with, where it can kind of be a very intense. Now, I wouldn't say fighting, but kind of intense type of game.
Yeah, like you can have power-ups and stuff. Yeah, I think that would be super cool.
That'd definitely be cool to play. For my next question, I kind of want to ask you is, we kind of talked about it a little bit, talking about how you got into Blue Lock and your character and everything. I just want to ask you more about the audition process. Like, how did you get the role? And after seeing the success of the anime, how does it feel playing this character, and what does it mean to you?
Well, so it's funny. I actually did not audition for Bachira. And what was very interesting is the director's name is Jonathan Rigg. He's awesome. And he, prior to Blue Lock, I had worked with him, I think once. And it was just a little bit part in the show called Fruit of Evolution. Like, the guy was in it for like 30 seconds, I think, throughout the 2 seasons or whatever. And he had heard me in that role. And then he went and listened to some of my general auditions. He was like, I feel like this guy can do some pretty cool stuff with this character. And they apparently, him and the assistant director, Jordan Dash Cruz, for season 1, they had made lists of, people they wanted to put as certain characters. And then when they showed each other, they didn't know that they had both put me down as Bachira.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which was crazy. And, Jonathan told me that, like, out of the initial cast, I was one of the few people he hadn't worked with already. And he was like, that first session made me so nervous. He was like, oh man, please let this guy not suck, because I don't want to recast him, and I went in, and he said, I did the first line, and he was like, thank God, you know what I mean? And so I guess I did all right, because I'm still here. But yeah. No, when it was funny, when I first got the email for Bachira, I was working at a pet hotel at PetSmart, and I was just sitting with at the time they have like individual time or whatever, and I was sitting there with like a chihuahua on my lap, and I was reading the emails, and it said, Jonathan Rigg would like to offer you the role of Bachira and Blue Lock. I was like, oh, cool. At that point, I was like, okay, it's a sports anime, probably won't be very big. Bachira, he'll probably be in it for like 2 episodes, and then that's it, right? Because that's all I had gotten.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then so I finally, luckily, at the place I worked at, they were all weebs. And so I talked to the manager, and I was like, hey, because he's more into the manga. He didn't really do anime. And I was like, hey, do you know anything called Blue Lock? He's like, yeah, it's like a massive manga. And I was like, is it? And so after work that day, I went to, they had a Taco Bell in front of the PetSmart. I just sat there for like 2.5 hours, just like researching Bachira. And I was like, oh, this is not a small character. And actually, he's a favorite character for a lot of people. And so I was like really nervous. I was like, I hope I do well. But so like,
you didn't tell anybody at the PetSmart you got the role?
I did not. I don't break NDA. I'm pretty good about that. But then once they found out,
did they know you did voice acting?
Yes, they did. Yeah. Okay. And so they were actually pretty good. Like, my manager was always really good. Like, if I got called in last minute, he'd be like, okay, go record. Right. And so he would just let me leave, and they would cover. And so that's part of the reason I worked there. But when I got cast, they were like, that's so awesome. So it was really, really cool. And I researched Bachira a whole lot. And then, the more I looked at it, I fell in love with him immediately, because I love his design and I love the crazy characters. And, he immediately became my favorite. And I was like, maybe a lot of people are going to feel the same, And then as I started like skimming through the manga, I was like, wow, the art style is like, there's a lot of production value to this. I was like, what's going on? And then as it blew up, where it really blew up and where I really had this is going to be massive moment was during the World Cup that year.
Oh, yeah, because they showed it at the World Cup.
Because they did the World Cup, and then like they were doing hashtag Blue Lock's real on Twitter. I have a lot of fans that say Blue Lock was actually their like gateway anime, because it was trending on Twitter so much. People were like, what the heck is Blue Lock? And so they would go and check it out, and then that became their gateway, anime.
That's amazing.
And so, yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm very honored to be a part of it. I'm honored to voice Bachira, because, people ask me what my favorite character is, and I say Bachira. It's not just because I voiced him. He would probably be my favorite character anyways, just because I love the character type. And he's just a very well-written character. Not saying that the others aren't. That's the thing about Blue Lock is, like, every character is so well-written, even the minor ones. Like, if you were to take the minor ones and shove them in their own anime, they would easily be their own protagonist, and that's why it's so good, right? Because they're all just very well-rounded. But Bachira specifically, I connect with him in a lot of ways, and I love him. He's a crazy boy.
The funny thing about that you say that, I always say that Blue Lock is kind of like a show where everyone's kind of fighting to be the protagonist. Yeah. Like it's very awesome in that. I think you do amazing in the role. I don't see why anyone would say anything else, but I think it's crazy for like a director to see that and then be like, imagine the voice for the character. You know what I mean? Like, it's just to be able to pick that, because I think they did amazing on that. What has been some of your favorite moments, like, as the character?
Favorite moments? Oh my gosh, there's so many. That's the thing, and I talk to my fans about this too, and I'm not biased at all, clearly. But the thing about Bachira is every time he's on screen, even if it's for a little bit, he weirdly steals the moment. He's so interesting. The way he's animated, the way he dribbles, the way his humor, just his energy is so interesting, right? Yeah. So some of my favorite moments, obviously, just the whole of episode 1. Right?
Oh,
the game tag, when he first wakes up and kicks Igiguri in the face, and then, he says, "Oh, good morning," stuff like that. And then, he chases after Kiryu with the ball and goes crazy demonic. And then from when the first time we see the monster, and I really love his backstory.
Oh, yes.
No spoilers, but with his mom, I just think it's really, really cool that, his mom supports him in the way that she did and incorporated her own monster to that. I think it's really, really cool. Because, Bachira, and I've talked to some other of my castmates as well, and they kind of agree. He's kind of like the mascot in the show, and he's very symbolic for like how it should be, right? So if you ever do something, you should do it because it's fun, right? While everybody else is trying to slit each other's throats and be the best and get on top, like you should actually just be the one having a good time, right? Because if you're not doing something because you enjoy it, then what's the point? Right. And you see that with Bachira when he first gets rid of the monster. He talks about, he's like, man, I've been chasing this perfect thing, but he started falling behind because of it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then when he was finally like, you know what, I got into this because it's fun. I'm going to be my own person, whatever. He just totally owned everybody. And it's very true. You should do something because it's fun first and foremost. So, yeah.
I would say he's one of those weird players where it's hard to rank how good he is, like compared to everybody else. Because it's like scenes where it seems like he's like with average with everyone, and then it's like certain scenes where it's like, okay, he's a step above the rest. You know what I mean? Like the scene where he gets picked to be taken from the team over Isagi the first time. That really surprised me because I was like, oh, dang. But then you start to really see why they picked him over Isagi for a while,
When he just won versus everybody in the team, he just completely destroyed everybody.
He's crazy how good he is with dribbling. And it just shows you just mastering one form and actually taking that to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And he does it, like you said, he does it because it's fun. He does it because, and when it's very interesting, when you do something that's fun and you don't put your pressure on being perfect, you actually naturally do better. And I noticed that with my acting when I'm in the booth too. It's sometimes if I'm like, okay, this has got to sound good, it won't sound good because it won't sound how I want it in my head. But if I ever just go with something and I'm like, I don't care, it's whatever comes out, it's the best thing I did. And I was like, okay, well, hey.
So taking more of a relaxed approach to things sometimes give you better results.
Yeah, I feel, obviously, I feel like if you stress yourself out too much, you're really limiting yourself in a lot of ways. Obviously you want to push yourself, but not so much to where you're like, it's got to be perfect. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about his relationship with Isagi?
I think it's really cool. I like how they, Isagi, his whole thing is he's got to tear himself down and rebuild himself. Mm-hmm. But Bachira, without actually saying it, sort of does the same thing, right? But also Bachira kind of keeps him in check and it's like, hey, we're doing this because it's fun, right? And then Isagi's reminded, he's like, oh yeah, this is fun, right? Owning people is fun. And so it's it's cool how they because they're out of all the friendships they're the least toxic, right? They're the ones that are like, I'm gonna beat you because I want to, because it's fun. And so they're just like they level each other up in that way, which is really cool. Whereas everybody else is just trying to crush everybody else.
I always find them to be a real like a weird partnership, because at first you don't really see them being like friends, but like after the first episode when he gets to basically bring out Isagi's like craziness, and then after that you see them kind of working together as teammates, then they partner up in the beginning type thing. And the fact that you actually see like Isagi wanting to pick him in a lot of situations, like, yeah, we definitely need him just for his dribbling skills, like he's low-key pretty good. And then I like when they actually get Nagi on the team and stuff like that, and you get to see their interactions with him and stuff. I thought that was
yes. Yeah, I definitely see Bachira being an end goal character, like an end into the story character. I hope so, at least.
For sure. I can't see him like not making it to the end. Like the fact that you just so much we got to explore, just even with the monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think there's any misconceptions about voice acting?
That it's easy. I think that's the biggest misconception, and especially nowadays. You meet a lot of people who want to be a voice actor, and rightly so. It's very fun. Like when I get to actually voice act, it's the most fun ever, right? I cannot imagine myself in any other career, but it is very, very difficult. Getting there is very difficult. I tell people all the time, I've been acting for 15 years. I've been professionally acting for 10. And really, it took me about 7 years of voice acting to get my first role that put me on the map. Now, some people, they'll get it earlier, but you also have to be careful of that because, let's say you've only been acting, 1 or 2 years and you get a lead in a show. Sometimes that's like your level of like, okay, this is where things need to be. And if it goes below, then I get depressed about that. So it has to stay here and go higher. And it's like you see people like, I love Tom Holland. I think he's a great actor and I wish him the best, but he got Spider-Man as like one of his first major roles. Right. And after that, everything just kind of right. And then where is he now? I mean, he's dating Zendaya and that's like his big thing, but he's kind of fallen off. Now it's the Dune guy. Right. And so you have to be careful. And like, I tell people all the time, you want to train for the marathon, not the sprint, right? There are things that now, like if I had gotten Bachira when I first started out, I would not be able to like mentally or even talent wise be able to have handled. I mean, I think I would have still done a good job, but I think the level that I'm at now definitely prepared me for a character like Bachira. But it was a very slow, gradual build up. And, I built this skin to a lot of, because you get a lot of criticism in this industry, from fans, from other actors, from other directors, producers, everybody. Right. And so it can be tough sometimes. And so, yes, the voice acting part is very fun, but the actual, like, I've spent thousands of dollars, right, on workshops and coaching and thousands of hours doing it. Right. And so, like, my biggest thing is like people will come up to me and they'll be like, I'm thinking about a career change. I want to get into voice acting. And it's like, cool. I recommend you do it, but it's not just that easy. Right. Yeah. And it's like with writing or any art form, it's very difficult. But it's the people that really persevere for the long haul. I've talked to a lot. You're essentially an entrepreneur, right, of yourself. The thing you're selling is your talent, right? And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who have built businesses from the ground up, and it seems like the 8 to 10 year mark is the sweet spot because of a lot of it's the waiting game, right? Because you have a lot of people during that 8 to 10 year period that they'll just drop off because it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of rejection, and that's tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough. And so, but if you persevere, the fear of like putting yourself out there, you have to put yourself out there, and so you have to be able to take criticism, and some of it really hurts. But you have to be able to keep going. And then once you get there, it's so worth it though. Especially like for me, like one of my biggest things that I love is like I said, I have fans that come up to me and they just cry. They're like, oh my God, your work has like affected me in so many ways that you don't even know. And that just makes it all worth it. Right. Yeah. But it was not easy. It was anything but,
One thing that you said earlier is I know you said you kind of did a lot of your contracts and all that in the beginning by yourself. Is that something you did with all your bookings and roles and stuff? Because I know a lot of times they say you want to get an agent for that because you don't like hearing some of the stuff they might say in those situations. You know what I mean?
So in terms of talent, like auditions and things, I always do recommend you get an agent. I say that, at least, so I've always had an on-camera agent, right? And he's always done my contracts anytime there's a commercial, anything, right? But in terms of voiceover, I've actually gotten most of my work myself. It's been word of mouth. I still read the contract. I have an uncle that's a lawyer, and he tells me what to keep an eye out for. And actually, my on-camera agent, even though he doesn't do voiceover, he'll take a look at the contract just because we're friends, and he's awesome. And I've been with him for so long. He'll take a look and be like, you need to watch out for that, right? So I am actually in the process. I'm looking for an on-camera agent just because it's time. It was time like 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? Because but now I'm at a point where I feel more comfortable being like, hey, like this is what I want. And so doing things like that. And I'm also looking at getting a literary agent for my writing as well, to get published too. And then
so do you have any books published?
No. So I am working on a few secret projects at the moment. I have one finished manuscript that's sitting at about 500 pages. And then I have one that I'm only about 270 pages into right now. So roughly halfway with that one. So I do
500. Is that done or that's just halfway?
So that's it. Looking at it now, when I've pitched that to agents before, and they really liked a lot of the aspects of it. But the problem is I wrote, like being an actor, I wrote a lot of my stuff like a movie, not a book. So there were things that I was missing. And now that I go back and I look at it, I'm like, I see what they were talking about. But it wasn't all for nothing because the agents were like, well, here's our emails. Just email us whenever you got something new and we'll just take you out of the slush pile and put you on priority. So good stuff, So my goal is with the writing is to eventually turn some of my novels into screenplays. I like oversee that process like I was talking about earlier, and then work on my own projects, because I know a lot of people who are stuntmen and other actors and directors and producers, and so obviously having a lot of people that you've worked with and you like on the same project would be a lot of fun.
Do you want to touch on what that first book was about, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
So I can give you the general, it's kind of like Lost meets Tomb Raider, right? It's like a very classic island survival. You know how Indiana Jones has some weird fantasy elements to it. It's like a modern fantasy, so it's like that, right? I always love that kind of stuff, the classic island survival kind of stuff. And then my second one, I will keep close to my chest.
Okay. Are you thinking about pitting that out one day, or you think that's
the second one for sure? So I am a part of a writers group, a very small writers group. I have a workshop here in Dallas that I attend, but then I also have my own group. And the people that have actually read it, they're like, yeah, this one's going to be really good. And I read it, and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be fun.
So other people have read it. It's just not your thing.
Yeah, only within my own writers group they've read it, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be a good one. And I think that would be really cool to go to cons with a novel because, like I said, I read myself, but actually a lot of anime fans, they read too. And so it'd be really cool.
All the time. You know what I mean?
And it'd be cool to also share that with my fans as well, not just my anime work. I think it would be cool.
So would you want to bring your books there too and be able to have a book signing and a manga sign, bring that all into one thing type of thing?
Yeah, it would be all on my table. That would be the goal, would be to also have my books there with also my character prints and my I do sign manga. And I feel like also, by the way, I feel like Blue Lock's going to get pops at some point, because it's just so it's got to get pops because that's the number one thing I get at.
I don't have them now.
I know. That's literally if Funko ever watches this, hey guys, what are you doing? Because that's the number one question I get asked at cons. I kid you not, at least 5 or 6 times per con. When are you getting Funkos? When are you getting Funkos? And they have a lot of fan made Funkos, and they're doing really well. And it's come on, guys, what are you doing?
Come on, They're really not catching up with the times on that one. I mean, you literally had the Olympics. I mean, it's so much you could have sold that with, but I guess. What emotion do you find hard to portray?
Sadness. I think sadness is probably the hardest one, just because it's the most vulnerable. And so a lot of times to really have like a crying scene be really authentic, you have to really be in the moment. That because when you're really sad and you're putting it out there for the world, it feels like you're naked right in front of everybody. And so it's a very that one can be really tough because with sadness, if you're really not feeling it, it can come across as cheesy, right?
Yes,
because we all know the you know what I mean? But like to have it really authentically like resonate with people, you have to really like be hyper focused and in the moment for that. So I would say sadness would be mine at least, you know.
Okay. We spent a lot of this interview talking about your role mainly as a main cast member, but
Yes.
you've also did a lot of main parts. Recently, I left my A-rank party to help my former student reach the dungeon depths. Woo, that is a long time.
You got it.
And also the reign of the 7 Spellblades.
Yes.
How was it playing those characters, and how does it feel actually being the lead in certain animes? And do you feel like those characters are different?
So with Spellblades, that was my first lead. Oliver was my first lead ever, right?
Okay.
And it's funny, we were talking about Harry Potter. You know, everyone talks about Mashal. Mashal's funny, but Reign of the 7 Spellblades is literally anime Harry Potter. It was produced by Warner Bros. Japan. And it's like when you watch it, you're like, this like feels like if it wasn't Warner Brothers, I feel like they would get copyrighted. That's how like they have a Hermione, they have like a Ron Weasley, they've got a Professor Snape, everything, right?
Okay, I see how you can say that.
And you know what was very interesting about Spellblades? He was my biggest role after Bachira, and you know Bachira was very very prevalent in season 1, and I was like, okay, you know, I feel like I'm really prepared for a lead. Well, the lead, the from major character to lead, like the jump is huge. Because what I quickly realized is as a lead, the entire show is on your back. Like, so, you know, you better not flub, right? And so Oliver taught me a lot. And he talked in paragraphs, and so does Yuke in A rank. Yuke talks in major paragraphs, like all the time. That's all he talks about, like 200 lines, just all paragraphs. And it's made me, both of them have really allowed me to grow as an actor, period. You know, and I do think they're similar because they're both magic boys, you know, very soft-spoken magic boys who are very skilled in what they do. But I really enjoy that. I feel like Oliver is a lot more somber. He's a lot more, you know, he has a more tragic kind of backstory thing, but he's also a lot darker. And then Yuke has some dark moments, but I also feel like he's more he's more upbeat than Oliver is. Even though they're both, like I said, they're both very soft spoken. But I really enjoy them. And I you know, being a lead, I'm very thankful. Especially you know, A rank was so his name is Manny Aragon. I can never say Aragon. You know, with the accent, I'm so terrible at accents. But he was a sound engineer for a long time, and he recently just became a director. And I had the honor of I had the honor of being the lead of one of his first shows. And it's been an absolute blast working with him. He's very talented as a director. I think he's going to go very, very far. And obviously, you know, like I said,
did you audition for that, or did he already?
So I did audition, yes.
Okay.
And I really like how Manny casts. You know, he casts based on the sound and who he thinks will do well in the role. And so he's got a really good ear. That's one thing I noticed about A rank and some of his other dubs is the characters really fit the voices. And so that's part of the reason I think he's going to go really far as a director, just because he's got a great ear. And
you think that sound engineer background helped that? Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
With
Yeah, for sure. You can tell that his sound engineer background like is great. I mean, and what's really cool too is he knows a lot of the technicalities of stuff too. So it's just it makes that part of working with him a lot easier. Plus, he's just a good guy. He's very funny, and he's just great to work with. And he cares, which is really cool. It feels more like a collaboration, right? You know. So and I really enjoy that aspect of him as well. So it's really cool.
Okay. Winding down to our last 3 questions.
Cool.
For my next question, I want to ask you Is there anyone that you want to shout out for being a good support system for you over the years that has helped you get to this point? And can you explain why having a good support system has helped you?
Well, obviously my mom is the big one. So
shout out, Mom.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, she's like, I call her my walking billboard because I have, if you see me in pictures, I have a specific Bachira shirt that I wear a lot. And she has the same one. And she will walk around like just town with it. And it's funny because people will comment, they'll be like, oh, I love Blue Lock. And they'll be like, really? This is my son. Here's his card. And then she like gets my van, and she's like she advertises me like no other. She carries my business cards with all my socials on it. And she actually created my business cards. And she's like really awesome. And she was the one that really, really pushed me. Because as a parent, finding out that your kid wants to be an artist, it's tough, right? Like I said earlier, being an artist is tough. And so as a parent, you can be like, but she never stopped me. So she kept me going. She really encouraged it. And for a while, she was, when I was first got started, my uncle, he had suggested that I did extra work to get used to being on a professional set right out of high school. And so she found me extra work, and she would drive me there and got me started there. And then, in the beginning, she was the one that really pushed me in a lot of ways. And so
she was like your manager and agent all at once.
She was a mom manager for sure. And it's gotten to a point where like, I've been so busy because I haven't gotten as many cons as I would like to this year, just because I haven't had time to really reach out that much. And so my mom's like, cool, I'll reach out. And so, she's going to be doing that too, I guess.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's very proud. She pushes me and my brothers all like that. So yeah, definitely my mom for sure. If we're talking outside my mom, my uncle, like I said, my film uncle, he passed away in 2019, but he was really he was a big insight into the industry as a whole, especially growing up. I would hear a lot of stories. I mean, he worked on the movie Scrooge. So he's worked with like Bill Murray, Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage.
Wow, okay.
He worked with Sean Astin before he was big, and like on the Goonies. And so like he would tell me all sorts of stories and kind of what to look for and what to expect from the industry, and a lot of the goods and a lot of the bads, and so he really prepared me mentally for the industry. And so I feel like if I didn't have his foundation of like growing up with a lot of that information, it would have been really tough, because the industry, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah,
and so like with any industry, I mean, I feel like any workplace is it has it's really tough moments, but like being prepared in that aspect really helped me a lot. So by far my uncle, his name is Eric L. Nelson. If you want to look him up on IMDb, he looks like Santa Claus in the picture. He worked on a lot of really cool stuff, and yeah, he's awesome. So
is there any voice actors? Do you have, I don't know if you have one of those stories saying you went to Dallas and had to sleep on someone's couch and be roommates with people for a while until you build it up. I've heard all the stories,
Well, so I was very fortunate. I'm a native Texan. So I lived in, I went to high school out here. I did community college out here. So I'm native. I'm born and raised Texan. And
so did you already know Funimation was already there? Or was that something that you had to learn?
I did not know until I auditioned that they were here, that they were like really close. And so once I auditioned, I was like, that's so crazy. They're like Dragon Ball and One Piece and My Hero and all these are out here. What?
Like 30 minutes away from me.
Yeah. So, and the industry's really grown in Texas in general, just because like, a lot of work is not, it's remote. You have a lot of work in Atlanta, you have a lot of work in Toronto, up in Canada. So it's pretty crazy. But in terms of voice actors that I really look up to, they're also on camera. So my big person I look up to is Johnny Depp. I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan. He's my number one actor that I look up to. I've watched all his movies, or at least most of them, right? And he's technically a voice.
Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. That was his first major role. And then, he has voice acted, right? He was in Corpse Bride. He was in Rango. He was in, he's done a bunch. So, but he's one of my favorites. And Yeah, and it's fun watching him behind the scenes because he just gets so into it. And I love voice actors to get really into it, you know what I mean? Like physically. And I try, like with Yuke, it's a little hard because he's soft-spoken in a lot of its paragraphs. But like when he has his big moments, I get very physically into it just because it helps from an acting perspective. And with Bachira, I definitely get into it because he's just, you know.
Definitely. I feel like you definitely got to get into that one.
Yeah.
And then it kind of reminds me of when I was watching some of the clips from Robin Williams when he was doing the genie and how much he was bouncing around and everything. It just makes you like, oh. And then the fact that a lot of the stuff that he did wasn't even part of the script, that they had to add it to the script because they were like, this is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was a totally different level of brilliant, for sure.
Man. For my next question, I want to ask you, so out of all your performances that you've done so far, which one do you consider your best?
Well, you know, and again, it seems like a default for me, but I really do think Bachira. Bachira, because now looking back at it, he's kind of a difficult character. I kind of fell into him, but he's, you know, his energy is just all over the place. He's got like, you know, his happy, you know, go lucky side, but he's also crazy. You know what I mean? And so playing that, like, I really discovered with him that I'm very good. I call him two-tone characters because, like, you know, he's like with Oliver too. We were talking about him. You know, he's got this, you know, friendly side, but he's also got this dark side. And then in Kiryu, you know, a pink-haired pretty boy I play in Windbreaker, he's also got his like relaxed side, but he's also got a darker side to him. And I find that I've learned that I'm pretty good at playing characters that have those double sides to them. And they're, you know, they're a lot of fun too, not only to watch, but to also voice. And so, yeah, but Bachira for sure. I feel like especially, you know, I've really settled into him really well. And so I'll put that out there. Yeah, Bachira.
Bachira? Okay, I can see that. I think you do amazing, like, was it hard creating the voice for him? Is like, and then also playing so many different voices, right? Do you feel like you lose what your real voice is?
Well, sometimes. So with Bachira, his voice, what's very interesting is I just kind of naturally fell into him. I knew he would be higher pitched just based on his look. And then, and you know, I used to do choir. So for the singers out there, I just kind of put him in my head voice and it's just, you know, naturally there. And it gives it kind of this like musicality to it as well, which is really, really cool. And so, yeah, that one. And then, God, what was the question? I almost forgot. My voice. Yes. So believe it or not, what's funny is with Oliver and Yuke, they're actually kind of more my natural voice, but it's like if you were to ask me to do Oliver or Yuke, I couldn't because my friends that watch my stuff, they're like, it is your natural voice, but it's not. Like there's like a certain cadence, I guess, that I bring to it. I guess I don't hear it, but they hear it. There's a certain cadence you bring to them that's just not you. Yeah, no, it's you, but it's not you. And so like, I guess in some extent I do lose my voice in the character, right? But I do get cast a lot as I've been told I have a very much anime protagonist kind of sound. So I get cast as that a lot. But I can also mess with my voice. The voice is kind of like a paint palette, right? So if I did my voice, but I added a little gruffness to it, that's a whole different voice. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel like you've ever like somebody say something and you answer back and you're like, hold up, I don't think that's my normal way of talking. I think
maybe I definitely find myself going into voice actor mode sometimes when I'm talking to people. Like especially if they're like, you know, the big thing is like do the voice, or like, you know, Shrek's is like do the roar, you know what I mean? So like I get that done a lot. So, you know, I do Bachira all the time. So I do, you know, it's gotten to a point where it has gotten more like a switch, you know, that you can turn on and off kind of thing.
But my last question I want to ask you is, what ambitions or goals do you have yet to fulfill in the field of voice acting?
Well, so I tell people all the time, right now where I am in my career, you know, I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed where I am. And I'm very like honored to be where I am, but in my eyes, I'm still at the beginning. Right. Okay. So the way I tell people is, you know, I spent the first 7 years prior to Bachira building a foundation for my house. And with Bachira, I was able to put on the first brick, and then, Kiryu, Yuke, Oliver, so on and so forth, right? But the house still isn't built. And, 10 years from now, people will understand what I mean when I say this. But I definitely, being a writer, a published author is on the table. That is definitely what I'm aiming for. That is my next big milestone that I want to hit. Anime, I want it to be part of my career for the rest of my career. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. But definitely getting back into film more is a big priority of mine as well. I would also like to aim more for video games. I've had a lot of fans that have been asking me, they're like, you would be so good in a JRPG. And I was like, I love JRPGs. So like being a part of a JRPG would be awesome. And just doing a video game in general, like, like The Last of Us or something like that, I think, or like Oblivion or something like that would be a lot of fun. So video games are next on the list. Authors next on the list. And then doing more on-camera stuff is next on the list for sure. So I definitely have those ambitions up there. But as I feel like as an just as an individual in general, I think we should all strive to kind of grow, right, in a healthy way, because there's definitely an unhealthy way. I know some people that are workaholics, man, and you see it like their eyes, they're just dead, right? And so you have to be very careful of that, right? But definitely growing just as an individual. I mean, acting is something that I plan on doing till like I die. So, that's something that's never going to go away. I'm never going to retire. Right. That's the plan, at least. Right. Obviously things change, but the plan is to never retire from it. So, yeah.
So this is another question I was thinking of. So do you want at a point to be seen more as something else than an actor, or do you want to be seen more as an author, or it doesn't really matter? As long as you're doing something like.
Well, so, to me, author is second, to, if I had to choose one, acting is my main passion. That's where I'm at. Right? But I would really just like to be seen as like Drew Breedlove, I'm very, I feel like I'm a very honest person with my fans. Like I don't, act like something I'm not. My fans know who I am, right? I don't like, pretend like I'm all perfect, right? I've got my faults like everybody else. But yeah, and a lot of my fans, I think a lot of my fans do see me as Drew Breedlove. Like they see me as an actor, obviously, because that's what I am. But a lot of them do see me as Drew Breedlove. And so that's why, like, I get a lot of fans that aren't just Bachira fans. They're also Kiryu fans and Yuke fans and Oliver fans. And there's some fans, the craziest fans are the ones that freaking One Piece fans, man, are nuts because they're so dedicated. And I remember I was talking to a pair of guys and they had no idea what any of the stuff I was in. But then they saw, because, actors have banners of stuff that we were in, like, and it'll show some characters and stuff. And they're like, this One Piece character, was he in the Wano arc in this episode, and this episode for like 3 minutes? And I was like, yeah. He was like, he had like hardly any screen time. How did you pick me out of like 1,200 plus episodes? But they did. So.
Yeah, One Piece fans are crazy. They love their show.
They are dedicated, which, kudos to them. Because, like, man, that One Piece, I think I was like, you know what? I'm going to binge it. And I made it to episode 100, and I'm like, oh, I got to tap out.
Oh, I feel you on that. When my first time doing the watch through, I think I made it to about 200. Then I had to take like a long break, and then I was able to come back and get caught up to where we're at now. But it took me a minute because at first the whole idea of like when someone sold it to me, they sold it to me as this perfect anime. Like there was no slow moments, no nothing. And then when you watch it, you're like, that's there's nothing that perfect out there. But it's a great anime. I love the story. I mean,
so good.
Oda is amazing. Like
he is.
I will say he didn't have all that figured out in the beginning. Like
he's great. He's wonderful. I will say, but he's also a good example of why you need to take breaks in your career. Yes. You need to take breaks, because man, there is such thing as overdoing it. He's very passionate, which is awesome. But if I had advice to him, he should probably take a vacation every once in a while,
Yeah, and I'm glad he's starting to take a little bit more after the death of Toriyama. Everybody started to kind of see that as like, manga writers, they spend so much time trying to write these mangas and drawing and artistic. A lot of people don't realize that is very hard. Like a lot of people die young because of that.
the thing about the Japanese, and it's great to be passionate. They're really passionate. They throw, like, when they throw themselves at something, they throw everything into it, right? And you can tell because anime reflects that, right? Like one thing I love about anime is, like, one moment you're watching, like, in seconds, right? You're like, what the heck am I watching? And then the next moment they have you bawling your eyes out, and you're like, why am I bawling my eyes out, right? But the Japanese they're masters of doing that. And it's because they're so passionate about what they do. But like I said, very important to take vacations every once in a while and take breaks, right? Yeah. But no, kudos to Oda, because what he's accomplished is absolutely phenomenal, so.
And with that, that is our episode for today. I didn't know if there was anything else you want to discuss before we wrap up, or...
No, I mean, this has been fun. I love, like I said, I love what I do. I love that, anime has become so popular, and I love that it affects people in such a positive way. And, it's very accessible. I feel like if you pick the right anime, the key is the right anime, anyone can really get into it. I always tell people, if you've never watched anime, probably should start with Studio Ghibli stuff first, and then slowly work your way into the other stuff. Because anime can be a little crazy sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really cool that it's become so popular, and I'm honored to be a part of it, and I love my fans. So if you're my fan, thanks for watching.
See, I like to tell people, like, when they're trying to get into anime, whatever you're interested in, try to find an anime about that, because I'm pretty sure they got it.
About that.
Like,
yes, there probably is.
So that's exactly all you need to do. But with that, I just want to say, I want to thank you for coming on and chatting it up with me. I had a whole lot of fun and learned so much more about the industry of voice acting, and hopefully you listeners did too. Before we close out, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to plug themselves and tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on any major social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube. I've got it all, baby. And so if you want to find me, it's just Drew Breedlove, VA. And so I'm more active on Twitter, Instagram, and then I'm trying to get better on TikTok. I'm not crazy about it, but I do try. But yes, that's where you can find me. And then I'm trying to get to more cons this year. But I recently just confirmed one. I believe it's called Hizashi Con in Pensacola. That'll be in November. So Florida fans, if you want to come out and say hi, come see me in November.
One of my last question I want to ask you, because I just thought of it. Were you one of those voice actors that made a Blue Sky account? Like, I forgot when Twitter had changed its name and then everyone started making a Blue Sky account. Now I realize a lot of them don't even keep up with them anymore.
I didn't do Blue Sky. I didn't do whatever the Instagram equivalent is. Was it Threads?
Threads, yeah.
And the reason I didn't is because I'm like, guys, I have so much. Because here's the thing. It's funny, because before I booked Blue Lock, I was actually going to get rid of all my social media. I was in the process of actually deleting it all. Like, I had deleted my Twitter. I deleted my Facebook. And then I booked Blue Lock, and everyone was telling me, they're like, you're going to need social media. I'm like, no, I won't. And they're like, no, you're going to need social media. And I'm like, fine. So I made all my accounts back, and they were right. I needed social media. And so, like, I had made all those accounts, and I was like, guys, I can't do another one and another one. I just can't. I can't, guys. I can't. I tap out. I'm good.
I feel you. Trying to keep up with all that is hard.
It's okay. Social media, man, it's a full-time job. It's gotten to a point, I mean, they're so expensive. I've actually considered getting a social media manager just because, like, it's so much. Yeah. Like, keeping up with the algorithm. And like I said, I love my fans, but I feel so bad because, like, they shoot me all these wonderful messages and then they comment, but I can't comment on everything because it gets a lot. Right. Like, a perfect thing was my birthday was a couple weeks ago. And I literally, my inbox for Instagram alone, I had like 70 messages. And I was like, I got to a point where I just went through and I liked them all. I was like, oh, I saw it. It was a lot. But, I'm thankful for it because social media, like, I have fans in parts of the world that I probably would have never been able to talk to them had it not been for social media. So I am very thankful for that. And, like, my fans do get to keep up with, what I do. And things like that. And so I'm very thankful for that. So, but like I said, it's a double-edged sword sometimes.
I can feel that. I know it's hard for me trying to keep up with all my social medias.
Yeah.
But with that, if you guys have any questions for them or anything, there will be links below. And with that, I just want to say peace.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.